Honest Field Guide podcast, a weekly show dedicated to winning in entrepreneurship. I'm your host, JinJa Birkenbeuel. I'm the CEO of Birk Creative, a leadership, brand strategy, and visual identity agency dedicated to helping scale brands and assist with their adaptability with the market. On my show, you get to eavesdrop in on intimate conversation with business leaders and inspired entrepreneurs, designed to give you tips and strategies so your own business can thrive. Subscribe and join me each week for laughter, inspiration, and honest stories. Hey everybody, welcome to my show, the Honest Field Guide podcast. I am JinJa Birkenbeuel, your host. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. If you're a new listener to my show, I would love it if you would subscribe to my show on Apple or Spotify, and please leave me a like or a review. Anytime you leave me something positive, that means that my guests get some positive feedback as well. So I really appreciate you being here today. So I'm really excited about my episode today because I have a really, really exciting guest on my show, and I have to tell sort of a back end story around this. So probably about 5 years ago, I started doing more traveling, and alongside my traveling, I started noticing, because I have 3 children, I'm a mom, I'm under a lot of stress. I have a big business I've run since 1997, Birk Creative. I started noticing like aging on my face. I'm gonna be honest, and I have a problem with aging in my family. It's sort of like a historical thing. Like my aunt used to put tape in the middle of her eyebrows, like to make sure the wrinkles didn't show up. And she never told anybody how old she was. My mom too kind of was a little wacky about age, but she's not as wacky as my aunt was. And my mom's like the youngest of 7 children. But anyway, I started noticing my face. And I was like, oh shoot, I probably need to take action, and I just feel like I really didn't know where to start. I was like, what do I do? Do I just put moisturizer on my face? What's happening? I don't know how this happened, but I found this brand where I was struck by, first of all, the reason I like this brand and the reason I found this brand, and I don't really know how I got sort of the contact, but I was struck by the package design. It was so simple, and there was nothing on the packaging aside from the words of the brand. And the typography was really interesting. It caught my eye. Everything was like fresh looking, and it didn't look totally medical, but it also didn't look totally like, find me in the Macy's store because I am a big brand and I have famous celebrities wearing my makeup and my skincare products and things like that. I'm kind of turned off by products like that. So I thought, wow, this is really interesting. And I was reading up about it and I thought, wow, I think I want to try this product. So I tried the product, and the product is Alchimie. I don't know if you've heard of it, Alchimie Forever. And I got my first product in the mail, and it was an eye tightening gel, because that's of course where I first started noticing something on my face. And I used it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. And keep in mind, this is a few years ago. So this is when we were online and post-pandemic. So I wasn't actually going out. I was seeing my face a lot on camera. That's really where this kind of started. Anyway, long story short, and I'm going to talk about this because, of course, the founder and the co-founder and CEO of the brand is on my show. And I'm going to find out everything about this particular brand because I love it. And by the way, this is not anything we talk about today is not medical advice. You have to see your doctor. You have to see your cosmetologist or your technician. This is a fun conversation around a beautiful brand that I absolutely love and adore. And this is not sponsored. I'm not being paid to talk about this because my show is all about entrepreneurship, and especially as it relates to women. I want to welcome Ada Polla, co-founder and CEO of Alchimie Forever, a Washington, D.C. based dermatologist-developed skincare line specializing in anti-aging, antioxidant-rich products formulated for sensitive skin. I love this product. Welcome, Ada, to my show.
Thank you so much for having me, and I love that story about the tightening eye contour gel.
Why do you love it?
I use that product every single day. I feel about it the same that I feel about deodorant, which is if I leave the house and I realize I didn't put it on, I have to go back in the house and put it on, because otherwise I'm like, my eyes are going to be all droopy and look fatigued all day, and it's going to be not good.
That's a great way to look at it, because I actually carry mine in my purse with me because of those moments. I do not leave it behind. So I actually have the eye tightening gel in my workout bag for the gym. in my purse that I carry around, and also in my makeup bag in my cabinet in my bathroom.
You're a dedicated user. I love it. Thank you.
100%. So I love that you're on my show because the last time I had an amazing founder, entrepreneur, creative woman was Candace Nelson, who founded Sprinkles. And her company actually is no longer, as of I think 1 or 2 months ago, which is horrible because I love her cupcakes. But I have this question because when I had her on my show, we were talking about I had just eaten one of her gluten-free blueberry lemon cupcakes, right? The best cupcake known to man. And I'm obsessed with blueberries. Absolutely obsessed. So I'm kind of curious before I start talking to you about your early beginnings and your family history because you have a great story. I want to know the difference because I read something about you when you were talking about the European blueberry. And I was like, there's like what is the difference between a North American blueberry and the European blueberry? And I'm kind of curious. Tell me about this because I love blueberries.
Yes. So blueberries are a family of fruit, and the one that we use is called either European blueberry or bilberry, which is, it has to do with the inky nomenclature of the ingredients. So we in French we don't have multiple words for this ingredient. So this ingredient, whether in the U.S. we call it bilberry or blueberry, is called myrtille, which is the translation in French of that specific inky ingredient. And we source the ingredient in France actually, and so we thought European blueberry would represent what we're using, most accurately. And it's good that you're eating blueberries, whether in cupcakes or the actual fruit. And blueberries are one of our signature ingredients, and they're extremely healthful, whether applied on skin or eaten. So I eat them and I put them on my skin.
I would love to know which product uses that because that was one of my questions. Like which product uses the blueberry and what is the benefit of that product?
Sure. So it's, we're not a single ingredient line. So I describe it as like we make fruit salads, basically. We use a lot of different fruits. We use a lot of different plants, but the European blueberry is one of our signature ingredients. So it's in a number of products. It's in our hero SKU, which is our Can't Take Brightening Moisture Mask, the first product we launched. It's in our moisturizers. It's in our other eye cream, the Rejuvenating Eye Balm. It's in one of our cleansers. So you'll see it, spread out throughout the brand. And most people know blueberries as super antioxidants, which is absolutely true. And, thank you for the beautiful intro. As you mentioned, we are an antioxidant focused brand. Blueberries also, however, are super anti-inflammatory. And in addition to being an antioxidant brand, we were very much created as an anti-inflammatory product. And so everything that we do has to do with reducing inflammation. This is actually how we approach anti-aging, to use this term. So blueberries are antioxidant, they're anti-inflammatory, and then third, certainly not least, they are good to reduce redness. Because of a very specific compound that they contain, which is called quercetin. And so, with these three benefits, if you think about sensitive, sensitized, reactive skin types, which are the skin types that we love and speak to the most, antioxidants is wonderful, and calming inflammation and calming redness are key concerns. And so that's why we love this ingredient. But I should say we love all our ingredients, but this one you'll find in most of our products.
Yeah, I love that because I did also, when I was researching the brand, when I was looking for really good products to use, I love the word sensitive skin because I do have sensitive skin. I feel like a lot of people do, but some people have more sensitive than others, and I do. I used to have eczema as a child. One of my children has severe eczema. So I think that when I tried the product, I was waiting. I was waiting for something bad to happen to my skin. I was like, okay, here I go. I'm going to try this. And
I know I'll regret it later, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Exactly. And I did not have that experience at all. Right. Yeah. And I actually do use the Cantic moisturizing mask. I'm pronouncing that right? Cantic?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And I used that the first time as well. And I don't even remember exactly why. I think I thought to try it because moisture mask, to me, I love the words. And the first time I used this product, and I hate that this is not an infomercial for my people that are listening to me. You know, this is not what I do, but I just have to talk about this because I actually bought the product for my mom, and she was like, "Oh my God, what is this?" My face and my mom. I'm not gonna expose her age because of what I told you in the beginning, but she loves it. And when she ran out, she was like texting me every single day, "Where is this product? I need more." And she's a swimmer and she works out a
Mm.
lot, and so her skin gets very, very dry because she's a multi-mile swimmer. And this product has changed her face. Like it's pretty shocking. So anyway, I don't want to go on about this more because I really want to get into a little bit more about you and where you came from and how this actually started. I feel like when I think about what I've learned about your family, you have like a huge family, and you have it looks like you have all sisters. First of all, beautiful, gorgeous sisters. You have an amazingly what seems like a super smart dad. I didn't see much about your mom, so I kind of want to understand a little bit more about your early years. You've got three sisters. What's your birth order? I read that you're Italian. You grew up in Switzerland. Like, give me some ideas about the very beginning of your life.
Yes, so I am the eldest. We are four girls. If you ask my three sisters, they would tell you I'm a very, very typical oldest sister. Whatever that means, I take it as a compliment. I have three nationalities. I'm Swiss. I was born in Switzerland, raised in Switzerland until the end of high school. My father was born in Italy, so he's an Italian citizen. He also is nationalized Swiss. He came to Switzerland in his 6, 7, 8 years old for school and then stayed in Switzerland. So he considers himself, Swiss, but born in Italy. So I do have that Italian passport. And then I'm a naturalized American citizen. And I've been American with a passport for 11 years. I've lived now in the US longer than I've lived anywhere. I came to the US when I was 17. So I left Switzerland when I was 17 when I graduated from high school. And yes, my father is extremely smart, as you said, as is my mother. She's less of a part of the story of Alchimie Forever, which is why you don't read so much about her. But she is a medical doctor. And actually, at the very beginning, when we were launching our first products, and I use we, I was at the time I was in college, so it was really my father. But my mother is pursued her medical career on the research side of things, and she did a ton of research on antioxidants, specifically on the European blueberry, which we were speaking about earlier. So she had a lot of influence in the early formulations, but was not ever really involved in the operations of the business.
So when you were little, did you so you grew up in Switzerland for the first, 16, 17 years of your life. Were you in a nature environment? I want to understand a little bit about where you were centered as a young girl, because I know that when you're little, that really informs your future. So, did your mom cook? Did you have a garden? Did you live in the forest? Were you picking like berries and like fresh herbs?
No,
Like, what was
no,
happening?
no, no, and no. Overall, not at all. I think you're picturing me as like little Heidi in the forest in Switzerland. This was not at all my life.
Actually, no,
Um,
that's funny you say that because now that you mention it, yeah, I guess maybe that is a stereotype that kind of that came to my mind
mhm,
a little
mhm.
bit, But then
No.
to be really transparent, when I read about your brand, you talk a lot about natural ingredients and finding sustainable ways of running the business. And so that's why I thought, what happened when she was really little? Like, what inspired her to do this? So that's really what I'm getting at with this.
hmm So I grew up in Geneva in Switzerland. So this is the French-speaking part of Switzerland. It's a pretty big city. My whole birth family is still there in Geneva, in the Geneva suburbs. But if you're looking, to try and understand who I am today and how when I was little this shaped it, I have to say that my favorite childhood years, and I think the 2 years that really influenced my adult life the most were between 6 and 8 years old when I lived in Brookline, Massachusetts. And so this is in the end how I came back, to the US when I was 17 for college. So my parents, at the time we were only three girls. I was six. my then Rachel, who's number three, was 1 year old. 1 year old. My parents were finishing their medical school in Geneva, and for postdoctoral fellowship, my mother had applied to Harvard School of Public Health in Boston, and she got in. And my father said, well, we don't say no to Harvard. He did not at the time speak a single word of English. And he's like, we're just going to pick up and move and take these three girls under 7 years old and go to Boston, and you'll do your fellowship and I will find something and everything will be fine. And so we lived in Brookline, Mass, which is a suburb of Boston. I went to public school there. I learned English. I didn't know English then. Actually, my parents tell me I went through a very short-lived but deep depression because the first, few months at school, I didn't understand anything. I couldn't communicate. And I was like, what is happening? I don't remember. I only have the best memories of those 2 years. But anyway, my dad ended up learning English, just like I did. And he ended up working at Boston's Mass General Hospital in the Wellman Lab, which is where lasers were created. And so it was like I think of it as karma rewarding him for saying, yes, of course, we'll go to Boston for, my wife's postdoctoral opportunity. In the end, he got to work with the professor, Rox Anderson, who's credited for inventing lasers in dermatology, which was instrumental in his dermatological career and also instrumental in us ending up having a skincare brand. But anyway, back to me. So I spent those 2 years in Boston, and, I remember my friends from school. I remember my teachers from school. I remember learning how to do tie-dyes with Leslie, who was our downstairs neighbor where we lived. I remember learning how to ride my bike. And when we left Boston, I don't remember this specific, but again, this is from my parents. I told them when we were boarding the plane, well, I'm going to come back here to go to school because this is where girls fix their own bicycles.
Wait, how old were you?
I was almost 9. I was 8 and a half, almost 9.
I mean, you were pretty clear.
Yes. And they were like, oh, shush, just get on the plane and, be quiet. And then when I went back to Geneva, my parents decided to put us at the international school in Geneva so that we would maintain our English, because we speak French at home, and they thought it would behoove us to continue to, maintain our English skills. So I went to the international school in Geneva, and from, there, it seemed quite normal to go to the U.S. for college. And so that's how I ended up being back in the U.S. for college.
Well, hey, hang on though. You're missing some things in the middle. Like you skipped from like 9 years old to going to college, and I want to understand what was sort of happening between that time, because I look at high school myself, and I have 3 sons, and I'm like, is there a purpose for high school? Like, I'm like, what is high school for? You know what I mean? Because I'm serious. Like
high school is for disasters.
It's disasters. Like I swear, you're so right. Like I feel like the early years are important. High school is a wreck, and then college is like, oh my gosh, thank God I'm here, right? So I feel like and I also read that in Switzerland, it's not even called high school; it's called like gymnasium. Is that correct? Like what?
Yeah, but I went to the international school, so the
so
international school was following the U.S. system.
Okay, got you. So 9 years old, you're on the plane heading back, and then what? Like, were you begging for bicycles to fix? I mean, what were you like in art? Were you a creative entrepreneurial person then? Because you're describing a scene that makes me feel like you understand what your parents were doing at 9 years old. Like you're describing an adult vision of what you think they were doing. But when you're 9 years old, there's no way that you understood all that. Or did you? Were you that genius kid that was like, I'm going to...
No. I was not a genius kid. I can tell you I'm a very old soul. And I was born.
Well, yeah, you're the oldest. You're the oldest. You're 6 years older than your next sibling, and that's.
There's one in between. It's 2.5 years, 2.5 years, and then I'm 12 years older than the last one.
Okay.
So we're like 3 plus 1, kind of.
Gotcha.
If you, in terms of age, groupings. But
okay.
Yes, I did skip over everything. I can tell you probably the most important thing when I went back to Switzerland is my father opened his solo derm practice. So, he was finished with his postdoc. My mom went to work at the Geneva hospital. My dad opened his practice. And I worked with my father from 10 to 17 years old. Yeah.
Okay, you worked with your dad like side by side. Was that your high school education? How does that work? That sounds
I
amazing.
work, yeah, he brought laser technology to Europe. So after doing, he was the first physician to bring laser technology to Europe. This was in 1986. And so at that time, lasers were used to treat port wine stains and hemangiomas in young children. So it was a very medicinal, medical use of lasers. Also, port wine stains and hemangiomas are not treatable by anything other than lasers.
Mm.
Also, he was the only one who had one in Europe. And so parents were bringing their infants, toddlers, young children from everywhere in Europe to see him. So he was deluged with business, which was wonderful. And, he worked from 6 a.m. to 9, 10 p.m., 7 days a week for most of what I remember of high school. And
So,
obviously this is not easy to find a receptionist to work those same hours. And so I would help him, sometimes before school. I would help him in the afternoons and the evenings. I would help him in the weekends. And I would do things like sit at the desk, answer the phone, take messages, check patients in. So I wasn't, I was doing things that, did not require special skills.
well, but I mean, but why you though, and why not your next sister? Like, what was it? I feel like when I watch like Hollywood films, there's always the one kid that the parent, typically the father, is like, okay, you're the one.
Well, I should be careful what I say because hopefully my sisters will be listening to this podcast. So let's, the parents have no favorite children for sure. I can
Not
tell
the
you.
not the favorite. I mean, I guess
No, no.
you know what I
Yes,
mean. Like
I do know what you mean.
this
And
is the one who's going to take over the family business because the other ones are out partying. Okay, I know your sisters. No offense, but I've got three
yeah.
sons, and no
Well,
favorites.
I can tell you that the one thing that my dad did with me, which I think he did differently with my three younger sisters, is he raised me like a boy. And
Oh,
he's very clear in his head. And I'm not saying he wanted a boy or, anything
yeah.
of the sort, but he decided when I was born that he was going to raise me like he would raise a boy. I,
Wow.
what that means, I don't have my own children, so I can't exactly tell you what that means, but in my mind and the way that he talks about it, we've always interpreted it, or I've always interpreted it as, ambition, work hard, strive for like the top, the most, the hardest, no crying in baseball type of, thing, like put your big girl pants on, meaning put your big boy pants on and go and do the things. Um, so perhaps that's why. I mean, the difference between 10 years old and 8 years old is also a significant, it's 2 years, but it's why me and not my sister Cyril? Probably because I was 10. And, if I had had a bigger sister who was 12, he probably would have picked her.
Maybe. I mean,
But
I ascribe to the belief that entrepreneurs are born, not made.
yeah,
Okay, so I do think that there are some characteristics of entrepreneurs that are very different from other people. Like, and I'm not saying there's a bad thing to a worker versus
for
an
sure,
entrepreneur.
for
Okay, I'm
sure.
just suggesting that there are certain things that a parent can see, and you're just like, oh, well, this, and sometimes it's really small details like how you move through the house, how
Mm-hmm.
you actually see the world, how you engage with external elements differently than someone else, how you interpret the thing that you're looking at, how you speak about it. Like there's little tiny things when they're little where you can kind of tell this, this particular child might be more successful in this area than this other child who's showing an interest in this way, or you know what I'm saying? And I guess that's kind of what I'm always curious about with founders and entrepreneurs and business minded people that are not going to work for a large corporation. Where was your mindset, and how did that actually carry you through to running a really incredible brand today?
I think, I've always worked hard my entire life. Um, I have memories from, when I was like playing. It was like playing work, playing school. It wasn't, it's kind of lame now if I think about it that I just said those words out loud, but those were my games. Like we would play, dad would be the teacher, we would play, mom would be the teacher. Even I have memories with my cousin. She would give me dictation, and then and my cousin is like 6 months older than me. Okay, so it's not like she's years older than me, and she would give me dictation and then correct me. And I thought this was like the funnest games, and all I wanted to do was to, not have mistakes. So that kind of, I guess, maybe is a little bit of what you're saying. So yes, I've always worked really hard, and maybe that's why I was working in my dad's office when I was 10 years old. I mean, it was a little bit like, well, what else am I going to do? Like, this is wonderful. So
see, I love that. I mean, I kind of feel like that's my point, is that you found your path very early on.
yeah.
Some people take longer. Some people, depending on their family unit, they're, pushed into certain areas because that's the way it's supposed to be. And it sounds to me like, you were fortunate to have an entrepreneurial thinking parent who really wasn't afraid of different paths, first of all, or different directions or different ways of thinking, and definitely wasn't afraid of putting you on a telephone because you obviously can handle yourself. So I just think, I really do believe that if you have parents that pay attention, you can, unrestrict your child and they can stay intact and do things that they were born to do, and I love that about you. So tell me, so you went to Harvard and Georgetown. Did you graduated with, what were your degrees in? Because I feel like I got conflicting information online. What did you graduate from Georgetown and then Harvard, or vice versa, rather?
Vice versa. So undergrad at Harvard, I did political science and history of art.
Okay.
So dual concentration. When I went to school, my father thought I should be a lawyer, and I didn't quite know. I loved. I loved the, what I had done with my dad, but I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do. I also, side note, my parents also have an art gallery, contemporary art gallery. And so I also, during summers in high school, worked with the art gallery and to me, when I think about this, I have beauty in my world, beauty in my life in all kinds of different forms. And I have had that since my childhood. And working in the art gallery is just working in a different interpretation of the world of beauty versus working in dermatology and skincare. So that is what kind of opened my interest and my eyes in terms of history of art. And then political science was kind of like, this is the proper degree to get if I'm going to then go to law school. So both of them. And then I did my freshman year of college, I went back to Switzerland and I worked in a law firm. I did an internship in a law firm in Geneva, and I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. And I was like, absolutely F no, I will not be a lawyer. This is like horrendous. Talk about like waking up every day and being like, oh no, I have to go do this now. And so that put an end to that, but I kept my dual degree. And then I graduated from Harvard in 99, and so 99, either you did investment banking or you did consulting.
Yep.
I went into consulting. So I did consulting for a while. I learned all kinds of things. I'm really dating myself, but this was at the beginning of cell phones. So the firm I was working with specialized in mobile telephony. And I got to travel. I was in Spain. I was in Morocco. It was like first job out of like adult job. I'm like, oh my God, I'm making money, and I got a signing bonus.
And I'm in Morocco.
And it's like fabulous. And then I was like, but this is not my passion. And that's when I made the decision to kind of start to come back towards the family business field of beauty and dermatology. So I went to work for a laser manufacturing company called Candela Corporation. These were, the first lasers. The first laser that my father brought from the U.S. to Switzerland was by Candela. They were based in a Boston suburb. They were very much a pioneering company in the field of lasers. And I felt like, okay, I'm like slowly coming back, to that industry.
I mean, were there conversations taking place between you and your dad? Was it, I can't imagine, like, I'm just thinking about my conversation that I had with Christy Hefner, who became CEO of Playboy Enterprises, which was her father's invention. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of business conversations, and it was a little bit to I I don't know that she was planning on, running her father's company, but she did. So were you having conversations around that? Because I feel like your father was your mentor. I mean, he was more than your father. He was your mentor, right?
Yes. And at the time we didn't have any products. So
Oh,
there was no, I mean, we had products, but not like a brand.
wait, how
It
old were you?
was, so this was when I graduated college. I was
20,
22,
22,
21,
23.
22.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
22.
Got you.
So my dad had created, so sidetrack. In the context of treating these kids with port wine stains and hemangiomas, he, was seeing inflammation, redness, heat, swelling, pain in the skin, and he wanted to, as he says, he hates kids crying. Like he's a big softie, and he's like, "Oh my God, what can I do to make these kids stop crying when I treat them?" And so he had a friend who still owns a compounding pharmacy in Geneva, and he went to her and said, "Look, I'm treating these kids with this technology. This is what's happening to the skin. I want you to make a product that has this, this, and this, and this in it to calm the skin immediately post treatment." And so he was, he tasked her with making these compounded products in little white jars, no name, no brand name. He would give them to his patients or to the parents of his patients as post-operative care. And that first product is what we, have today that is called Cantic Brightening Moisture Mask. So that's the origin. So that existed when I was in college and when I was then, working, or maybe not in college, but when I was working at Candela Corporation.
The
But it
product
wasn't
the
a brand.
product existed. I mean, because
One product existed,
I
yeah.
read that it was in a jar with no label. It was just something that was
Exactly.
given to the patient afterwards,
Yeah,
and so that was
yeah,
what your father created with this other woman. I love that it was a woman that he worked with,
yeah,
for the
yeah,
chemical
yeah.
mixtures and things.
And but it wasn't a brand, so it wasn't. We weren't
Yeah,
having conversations about, oh, I'm going to run the business, I'm going to run the skincare brand or anything like that, because there was no brand. Which is why in the end I have the co-founder title.
yeah,
Even though some products existed, the brand came about after.
sure.
But when I worked at Candela, we were having conversations about lasers, about skin, about, I mean, and this is, I think, one of the things that made me good at my job I was the V-beam pulse dye laser product manager, is I had my dad's, words in my ear about what worked, what didn't work, and how to sell this better to doctors and what, things like that. So that was fantastic. Um, And then I got laid off. And this is actually, I was preparing for this conversation, trying to think about, like you said at the beginning, things that I don't talk about. I don't talk about this because I forget. Not I forget because it was so horrible, but I just forget because I don't know. It just seemed so random. I didn't even understand what a layoff was. I grew up in Switzerland where if you want to fire someone, you have to give them 3 months advance notice and all those types of things. Like it's not like pack your things and go. So I think Candela was having some, financial issues, which in the end is why you have layoffs. And a few people had gotten laid off. And I was starting to feel like, I had kind of done what I could do there. And I was, my then boyfriend was moving to DC because he wanted to work on the Hill. And I was thinking maybe I should, move to DC with him, and what was I going to do, et cetera, et cetera. And so in the end, I decided to go to business school in DC. And in my, infinite naivete and complete lack of understanding of how things work in the US, I went to
I'm
my
ready for
boss.
this.
I went to my boss and I said, his name was Paul. And I said, hey, I'm thinking about going to business school. So this was maybe in April. And so business school was going to start in September. And I was like, I want to make sure that I'm very transparent with you. And, if you want me to, like, whatever I can do over the next few months to help maybe find a replacement, or if you have a replacement in mind, train a replacement, anything, like, I don't want to put the company in a bad spot and blah, 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 blah. And he said, oh, you're going to go to business school. I said, yes. He's like, that's wonderful. And then I came in the next day and I was told that I was being laid off and that my position was being eliminated. And I was told, take your things. And I was walked out of the building.
Oh, lovely. That's always exciting. That
Yeah.
kind of
And I,
the escort out the building is really
uh-huh,
amazing.
uh-huh. And
I mean, at
I
least you
was,
got an escort. At least they didn't lock
right?
everything down and you
Yes.
just
And
kick you
no,
out.
she was a really nice lady who I worked with. So it wasn't like an armed guard or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I was like, wow, this is really very interesting.
Demoralizing and
Well,
discouraging is how I would have felt if it were me,
I don't
but I'm
remember how I
different.
felt other than just completely flabbergasted and so surprised. And I'm like, what I did yesterday did not have the consequence that I thought it was going to have. And then I also thought a lot about, people sometimes tell me, oh, but, you run your own business. It's so challenging and it's so risky. And yes, yes, and yes. But corporate America is not risk free, you know? It's like you can get laid off tomorrow for no fault of yours. And I think that
Well,
experience really made me think,
there's a lot more than that. I mean, you can get laid off, but you can also be surrounded by horrible, toxic people that make you feel terrible about yourself, or,
yes,
a
but
really
I don't have
awful boss.
experience with that,
Ugh.
so that's why
I'm
I can't
there's a
relate to
lot.
that. But
I'm just saying
for me,
there's a lot of like, I love entrepreneurship because this other environment does not work. You know what I mean? Like it
yeah,
doesn't really align
yeah,
with my aura, my values, and how I feel about myself and the things I want to build.
absolutely. And I think that this experience that I had really made me think about what, exactly to your point, like what do I want to control? Because you can't control everything,
Hmm.
but you can pick what you control. And I'm like, what problems do I want to be faced with? And what problems am I better equipped to handle than others? And what can I, muddle through, so to speak? What can I stand that's not really perfect or nice? Like, where can I be uncomfortable while still being like feeling good about myself and what I'm doing? And in the end, all those reasons are why I was like, I have got to go back to the family business and do something with these products and, have some control over the mission of what I'm doing, how to your point, the people that I choose to do it with, and when I wanted to, like, and have that control over my day to day, so to speak.
I think entrepreneurship, I know, I believe because I'm in it. Uh, you have to have, um, you actually have to have a high risk tolerance, and have to be unafraid of taking chances and falling and getting back up. And also, you have to accept a lot of inconsistencies and uncertainties. Like you cannot navigate a world of entrepreneurship. I don't care where you are in your entrepreneurial journey. Like you could be starting up, you could have a little product that nobody cares about, or you can have something that everybody wants and you run out of it. Like, you know what I mean? There's just so
Yeah.
much to think about, and it's not for everyone. And I think that's kind of why I love having these conversations with women like you, with leaders like you, because it really does continue to put in perspective what it takes to run a business. And I also think, a small business is different than a larger business or a mid-market business or a global business, like a huge, giant, space-based tech company. Um, but I still think that when you're a woman running these things, it poses another level of challenges because the narratives that we're given, especially in the United States, the narratives that we're given, the barriers that we're faced with, and I know it's like, oh my God, why do we got to talk about barriers? And I don't want to talk about barriers. I'm just saying that women have more stuff going on than men do when it comes to business. We have to demonstrate a lot more competency and intelligence. And like you said, we have to be more straight backed and head up. And we can't cry. It's horrible. How has that impacted your family business? How has it impacted your relationship with your father? Does he teach you how to, speak the language of men? Because I've had mentors, male mentors, that actually have taught me that. Like, what is that like? Because it ain't easy being a woman running a business. It's just not. We got a whole nother level of stuff going on.
I don't think I would say that my father's taught me that, because I don't think he sees things in those terms, and
Well, he
nor
better
do
not. Well,
I.
first of all, he better not. He's got
Yeah,
four beautiful daughters.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
We I mean, between my mom and the four of us, we were very much a female dominated
Oh
household.
my God, your poor dad though.
Um, yeah, my dad's a saint. No, my dad is the luckiest man alive.
I hope he hears this and like you gotta get that on a ringtone.
Yeah, right. So I don't think there was ever, other than what I said at the beginning, which he says he raised me like a boy, where here the gender stereotypes, if we want to talk about that, perhaps come into play. Other than that, I don't think we ever were, neither from my father nor my mother, really confronted with this idea that we are women or we are girls, and so we're going to have these hardships and we're going to have to look at this this way and learn to handle this way. I have no, and maybe this is because I grew up in Switzerland. I don't know, but I don't have memories of this. I do know that from both of my professional experiences working in consulting and then working for the laser manufacturing company, I was working with men, and I did not love it for reasons that I can't even pinpoint. But I think that also, I'm blessed to be in an industry that's female dominated, even if, I have this conversation a lot. If you look at the very, very top C positions in the very big beauty companies, there's a lot of men. Okay, I don't deal with that part of the industry. I deal with a different part of the industry. And within my kind of bubble in the beautiful beauty industry that we're in, I deal mostly with women, and I love that very much. I'm a girl's girl. I have a really strong network of amazing girlfriends. I'm very close with my sisters. I'm very close with my mom. I'm very close with my godmother. I have older women that I look up to. So my life has been very much female dominated, and I think that's partly because I was born in a family of girls, and it's partly because of the path that I ended up choosing for myself.
I love it. And of course, your dad, he sounds like an incredible, incredible spirit. I want to pivot a little bit. I want to get your definition of beauty, because you mentioned it earlier. And that was actually one of my questions. How do you define it? What is beauty to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love this question. Beauty to me is harmony. So someone is beautiful if they are harmonious with who they are. So if they, know who they are, if they live who they are, if they accept who they are, then in my mind, you're beautiful. So it's not about age. It's not about physical features. It's about, and people sometimes say, oh, it's confidence. I think you feel more beautiful if you feel more confident. I know I feel more beautiful if I feel more confident, and vice versa. I feel more confident if I feel more beautiful. But in the end, if I think of myself, I feel the most beautiful when I feel in harmony with myself. I don't know if that makes sense. It's a little woo-woo, but
no, I love it, because one of the things I read was looking good means feeling good means doing good, and I feel like there is something about beauty in that. And I mean, I hate that cliche, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, because it really is. But I also feel like there are standards of beauty which make women not feel beautiful. And so I like the idea of feeling good and being in harmony as a definition of beauty, versus it always being just about your face or just about your hair or just about your lips, And I do know that for a skincare company, the idea is to give you products to enhance, your skin, or to help calm your skin down, or to help you look help you look more beautiful the way you want to look, right? To make you shine. How did you come up with your looking good means feeling good means doing good? Because again, as I talked about earlier, you have a sustainability piece. So I would expand the definition of beauty, because I feel like I was attracted to your packaging because it wasn't overly designed. Number one, it wasn't overly medical. And then as I look deeper, you have all these beautiful words around nature, and we use sugarcane packaging, and we use certain types of natural ingredients. And I feel like this to me also defines, wow, this is a really beautiful product.
Thank you. There's so much that I want to say. First, a little bit about our packaging, and then I'll answer your question. I really had a big internal giggle when at the beginning you talked about how you were attracted to our packaging because we were medical, but not too medical. And then we didn't look like a product that you would find at Macy's that, is influencer based and what have you. We, we get a lot of comments about our packaging from industry experts mostly, who basically say we should redo our entire packaging is the short, and I'll spare you all the details.
You don't need,
And
I already know the details because that's the
yeah,
business I'm in. I
yeah,
get it.
yeah. So in the end, though, we're an independent business. We are self-funded. We're family-owned, family-funded. Like we run on the money that we make by selling product. We don't have private equity behind us. We don't have investment banking behind us. I mean, we have to be very strategic in how we invest the money that we do have, and we put the money in the product. So we put the money in making the best formulations that we know how to do, working with the best raw material suppliers that we can work with. And if there's anything left over, then, we'll do a little bit of marketing. But and this is very much true to my father's ethos. And, we want products that you will repurchase. We've been around for 21 years. A company does not stay around for 21 years if the products are not good. That's just not feasible. So our marketing, whether packaging or, if you look, people are like, oh, you only have 14,000 followers on Instagram. I'm like, what is your point? Like, it's not the number of followers on Instagram that means that you have a good product. It means maybe that you're a buzzy brand. Yes. And do I wish we were buzzier? Sure. But this is not who we are. So
it's
anyway,
called lifetime customer value, right?
Yeah. Thank you for your comments about our packaging. So going back to looking good means feeling good, means doing good. Aristotle, this is based in Greek philosophy, where beauty is an expression of the good, meaning you can't be beautiful if you're evil, I guess is one way to translate it, going back to your definition of beauty.
Well, God doesn't like ugly, as they say.
I've never heard it put it that way, but yes.
God, it's an actual phrase. God does not like ugly.
Yes. And so, the idea is if you're good, like inside good, this will come out as beauty on the outside. And so there's this link between beauty and goodness, and in between there's the feeling of it. Because, I'm sure you've experienced this, or I imagine most women and probably most men have experienced this. Like when you wake up and you're all puffy and you didn't sleep well, and maybe you're getting sick, or maybe something terrible happened yesterday and you cried all night and it's just like a massive disaster and you just don't look your best. You're not going to feel your best, and vice versa. Like the connection between how you feel and how you look is very strong. And then there's the further, and people say feeling good, looking good a lot, but then the most important piece of it, really the doing good, is then how this impacts how you present yourself and what you do all day. And I know that when I'm tired and I feel ugly, I'm not my best self. I'm not my kindest self. I'm kind of snappy, and that's just how all of these things work together. Whereas when I feel really good, when I feel like I'm looking great, people tell me, oh, you look so nice. Oh, I like your outfit. I'm like, oh, this is making me so happy. And then I'm like, oh, you look fabulous too. And I'm like, I'm being kinder. I'm being a better person. And so those are the three pieces. And my mom always told me, and this is a trick. This is a hack, or I don't know what you call it. This is a thing I use regularly. She always said, look, on those days when you wake up and you are feeling really not good and you are not looking your best and you're like, ugh, you put on extra red lipstick and you put on an extra nice outfit. On those days, you will not want to do those two things. You will want to put on your sweatpants and put on zero makeup and just go out and to the world showing everyone how you're feeling inside. But instead, you're going to put on an extra nice outfit. You're going to put some extra red lipstick. And by the end of the day, you will feel much better. And it works every time, because here I am feeling crappy, really grumpy, not feeling my best, not looking my best, but I'm in a cute outfit. And then people tell me, oh, you look nice. And I'm like, oh, maybe I do look nice. Oh, maybe this isn't so bad after all. And then, you know,
I love
I
that.
feel better, and then I act better, and then I present myself to the world in my best version.
I love that. I
So,
mean, beauty is, again, I do think that I love that you brought up what you said about other people that are trying to get you to change your packaging. I understand that conversation, but I also think when I got the product, and I started using the Cantic moisture mask, for example, which of course, and I also use the eye tightening gel. I use the
mhm.
eye balm, like all the things. I feel that I sense the quality of the product that I'm using, which is, I think is really interesting. But again, when I was looking up the history of the company, I was really excited to read about the sustainability, because a lot of
Mhm.
cosmetics and skincare, unless you're getting a really small entrepreneur who's making things by hand or has a very small manufacturing base, you just really don't get that type of concern. You don't get that type of concern at all. Um, and I like that, you're bringing in beauty to all levels. I almost feel like those are pillars in the company, and there should always be that through line with everything that's done, because beauty is more than just your face and your skin. It really is, exactly like you said, a way of life. And it's really hard now to like hold on to that with all the negative news. It's hard to really stay grounded in looking at things that are beautiful and finding beauty in things that right now seem kind of ugly. What do you do as an entrepreneur, number one, as a business owner, number two, and as a person that is in the beauty industry? How do you, how do you avoid, or are you avoiding negative news? How are you managing it? Like what, like, I mean, it's like you have employees and staff, and you have, like, they're dealing with the chaos and the crazy. It's not right to be in a bubble. It's wrong to put blinders on and look away. It's so wrong. So how are you doing this work, knowing what's happening in the world?
Well, I think, one of my mantras over the last few years is control what you can control.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how I handle it. There's some, terrible things happening um, that I can't control. And focusing too much on those, I agree with you that blinders are bad. At the same time, focusing only on that is not going to be productive for anyone, not me, not my team, not my customers. So controlling what you can control. Also, I think it's important, and this is not easy. It's simple, not easy. I think it's important, especially when times are tougher, to really look for beauty in the world, and beauty, or look for good in the world, or look for niceness in the world. And this idea, that in the world that we're in right now, there can be all this horrible stuff happening, and at the same time, in the same world, there's also wonderful things happening. There is beauty. Like, I'm looking, there's a blue sky, behind my computer screen with beautiful clouds, and it's nature is beautiful. And so I try to always both acknowledge the things that aren't beautiful, the things that are ugly, to use your word, that are happening, but also to find beauty in the smallest things, to find awe, maybe is a, a good word to use,
I
because I
love
think that
that.
helps
Aw.
to, that helps to kind of recalibrate things a little bit, not to take away from everything bad that's happening, but to remind myself that yes, there's also amazingness in this world still, because otherwise, then what am I doing?
What are
I
we
mean,
doing? Yeah.
what are we doing?
I like the word awe because it reminds me of a phrase that I used in a book that I designed and produced, Stay a Child Forever. I think that there has to be, like, you almost have to force yourself into a childlike state of wonder sometimes in order to navigate every day. And
Mm-hmm.
it does depend on where you live. So, I'm in the United States, you're in the United States. We have a different experience than, for example, this illustrator I'm working with in South Africa. you know, or my designer in London. It's like there's a very different experience. So I feel like at the moment in the United States anyway, we are battling multiple fronts, especially when you're an entrepreneur and a small business owner or even a mid-market business owner, which you are. So I love the strategy of you looking around and trying to find something that you have something that brings joy, even if it's small. Like I have a YouTube channel called Joy and Glow, and I'm just trying to focus on something small, like this
I
beautiful.
will have to look at
Like
that.
I know, like look at like I'm looking at. I have a plant, and my plant is a Constellation Monstera, and I've been struggling with it for about a year. And so I sometimes go and handle and talk and deal with my plant. And I put some of this content on my YouTube channel and I ask my audience questions. And it's a small fledgling channel. It's not like, it's just like my place to document and look at things that bring me joy, food, plants, makeup. It's just,
Yeah.
skincare. And I like, that's where all right, that's what I do right now. And it's important to me because, it also expresses another side of myself. And it reminds me that there are some really amazing things happening in the world. And it's just an escape, but it's a real escape. I want to get back a little bit to Alchemy Forever. Okay. And there's a couple things. So you found a bunch of white packages or white products, like bottled things, in your father's office. And gosh, I wish one day I want to talk to him because I actually am kind of curious, and I don't want to get off track. I'm kind of curious because I'm like, wow, he invented this thing to help children with really,
Hmm.
scary skin conditions that are interfering with someone's perception of them as a human
Themselves.
because of this thing, and he found a way to solve that. And I love that. I want to talk about that some other time, not today. But so you saw these white packages, you're just like, let me do this. Like, what was the process like? Because
A
number one,
moment of pure insanity.
I mean, that's what it sounds like. Like, I feel like I'm like, okay, how did you come up with the name? Like, did you trademark
Yeah.
it right away, or what did you do? Did you do a sketch on a piece of paper? Like, what was the process like? Did you see like white bottles on a shelf and you said, "What, Dad? We got to do something with this." Like, what happened?
Yes. So when I left or got laid off from my work at Candela Corporation, as I mentioned, I had this idea of going to business school. And I had a sense at that time already that I wanted to go back into the family business, having worked in lasers and having developed this other type of conversation I was having with my father and all of those things. But I thought, well, I should get one more degree because if I go back into family business and if things don't work out, then I'll have, a nice undergrad degree from Harvard. I'll have an MBA from Georgetown University. I'll be able to go and find myself some kind of job to
Mm-hmm.
earn some money. So it was almost like insurance policy is how I approached business school.
Hey, you know what? That's fair.
Yeah. And, I picked Georgetown because it was the best school in the DC area. So, which is where I wanted to go because of my then boyfriend, who is not my husband today. But I love DC. It is what I consider my home
I
now.
love
And
it so
I've
much.
lived, I've lived in DC longer than I've lived in Geneva because that's
So
now
wait,
my home.
before you finish your story, have you ever been to Baked and Wire?
I love Baked and Wired.
Oh my God.
I also had been to the Sprinkles that was, 2 blocks from the Baked and Wired, which is no longer, as you said at the beginning.
Yeah.
But yes, Baked and
I
Wired
mean,
is amazing.
they have the best marshmallows, and they don't ship their marshmallows. Just FYI, I have to go to
Well,
DC
one
to
day
get
you're
those
going to have to
marshmallows.
come to DC and we're going to go there
I
together.
mean, yeah, I brought like the last time I was there, I brought back like 2 dozen marshmallows, and I ate half them in the airport, and I did a little video about it because I was in such heaven. I cannot
Yes.
forget those marshmallows. Anyway, but go ahead. DC's my favorite. Your favorite. You did this.
Yes, my favorite. So I went to business school, and then in business school, I thought, okay, this is the time for me to really figure out what I'm going to do. And I started by thinking I would open a Forever Institute in the US. So Forever Institute, by then my father had transformed his solo derm practice into, one of the first medical day spas in Switzerland. So I wrote a whole business plan. I was in business school, so they're like, write some business plan. So I wrote a business plan on opening a Forever Institute in DC actually, and it just I couldn't wrap my head around it. I'm not a dermatologist. I would need to have a dermatologist it seemed so capital intensive. I would have to buy lasers. The whole thing just was too overwhelming. And so then I thought, okay, this is not going to work. But then I thought, we have these products. And so maybe I can do something with the products. And so that was the second business plan that I wrote. And that's how it started. I did all of my elective classes in business school were all entrepreneurship classes. I did projects with my classmates, utilized their amazing brains and time and effort for school projects that were all on what was going to become Alchimie Forever. So that's how it evolved. And, I started, it's crazy. I remember I had a fax machine and a credit card machine next to my bed in where I lived off campus, in Georgetown. Yeah. Fax machine. This is
What's
like,
that?
What's that? The ancient times. And I just, I got a storage unit. I shipped some products. We made some boxes. We created a name and a logo, and I'll talk to you about the name in a minute. And I started selling. So that's how
selling what? Like out of the back of your car, or just were you drop shipping?
Yeah.
Like what was it? Oh.
No, I was making packages. I had a storage unit with inventory that was coming from Switzerland. At the time, we made everything in Switzerland. I had shipping supplies in my apartment that I shared with my girlfriend Kirby. I had a fax machine to receive orders. I would pick and pack, and I became the best of friends with the woman who owned the UPS franchise that was closest to me. And I would make packages, and I would go drop them off at UPS, and that's how it began.
So did I hear you just say that there was a woman who owned a franchise UPS?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love you. you're like
she's to this
like
day she's one
like
of
Amazon. You have like Amazonian like ecosystem.
Yes,
I swear to God.
I tell you, I'm blessed. I have all these amazing women in my life.
I want to be a part of your ecosystem.
This
what can
is
I
Julie, do? And she became one of my best friends.
Oh my God. I'm like, yeah. I want to be part of Ada's Amazonian woman powered
powerful,
ecosystem.
Amazing women.
Oh my God. Okay. So then,
beautiful thing.
So you were doing all that, and I want to talk about,
you wanted to ask about the name?
Well, here's why I'm asking. So the name is definitely, I want to understand what the name is. Cause when I see the name, I think, alchemy, which is like alchemy, right? But I also want to understand, one of the questions I get all the time from entrepreneurs and business owners is, do I have to do a logo first? Do I need to spend a ton of money on a logo? Should I get everything trademarked? Should I set all the stuff up and then run the business? And then of course you find out that you shouldn't have done all that stuff because your business is going to fail. Like your business failed. It was like you did all this, like there's always this confusion about what's first. I feel like you built it the right way, but I don't know. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about that.
The first official appointment that I had, I will remember this forever. It was in May of 2003. Yeah, May of 2003. I went to a big law firm, and I had them help me establish an LLC in proper ways. And I had them trademark the name, which by then one of my sisters and I had chosen. And I can't remember who told me this, but someone told me, look, no matter how small your business, you have to have big lawyers and you have to do the big lawyer things first.
Absolutely.
So I did that. And my father was like, what is this bill from this big law firm? Are you insane? And I'm like, no, Papa, don't worry. This is the right way of doing the things.
So Alchimie Forever. So Alchimie Forever was trademarked before the institute of your father, or what? Like, was that a whole new process for you?
Well, Alchimie Forever is a U.S. company. Forever Institute is a Swiss company. So things are different. They are different anyway. Entities.
Okay.
Forever Institute existed before the name Alchimie Forever.
Sure.
Because the if you think of Alchimie as the first name and Forever as the last name, we picked Forever because we wanted it to link back to Forever Institute. That's kind of the link and the nod to the heritage of where the brand was born. And then Alchimie, you're correct. Alchimie is the French word for alchemy. So, in my infinite non-marketing wisdom, like the packaging that people don't like, I picked a name that is very hard to pronounce and incredibly difficult to spell, but I liked it. And my sister Cyril helped me. She's the one who's right after me. We wanted it to be in French because, again, this is a nod to Geneva, Switzerland, which is where we were created, where we speak French. And we really liked the concept of alchemy. So even, even the word alchemy in English, a lot of people don't, I mean, it's not a very common word. So alchemy is the science that predated chemistry. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
medieval science. For people who have never heard of this, I say, imagine like Merlin the Enchanter, long beards, long robes, searching for the stone of eternal youth, trying to transform lead into gold. Like these were the pursuits of the alchemists.
Right.
And after the Middle Ages, alchemy became chemistry. And I love alchemy, and we chose it for three very specific reasons. One, in alchemy, there is chemistry. Without chemistry, you don't have science, you don't have formulation, you don't have skincare. Chemistry is a core pillar of how you make good product. Two, part of alchemy is magic, is mysticism. And beauty is magic. Everything that we were talking about how beauty makes you feel, how it changes how you act. I mean, this is not chemistry. This is kind of like magic.
Mm-hmm.
And the importance of this, and again, to go back to a word we used earlier, awe, this concept of, wow, this is magic, and magic is important, and it's a part of beauty, and it's a part of skincare. And then the third piece, and this goes to your point about naturals, the first texts that identify certain plants as being healthful, so that tie plants to health, were written by alchemists. And so in this word, alchimie, which is the French word for alchemy, you have chemistry, you have magic, and you have healthy botanicals. And those are three, it's like in that one word, you kind of describe who we are as a brand, who we like, our philosophy of skincare and beauty. It's all encompassed in this word that is very difficult to spell and pronounce.
Mm-hmm. And I was attracted to it because I was like, what the hell is this word? What is happening? What does it mean? Like, what is this? I got the container. I was like, wow, this is so interesting. What's going on with this A? Like, but I'm a different type of a customer, right? I mean, I'm a designer, graphic designer. I'm very sensitive to typography and shape and form, and color. And I also was like, wow, purple and white. What is the meat? What is it? Why is it purple? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because there was a time in my life where I hated purple. I was like, I hate purple. I hate it. I don't ever.
That's okay. We
it.
can still be friends.
I know, right? But but it's different now. I mean, my relationship with purple has totally transformed and changed. I love all different shades of purple. Whether it's like a mauve or whether you're actually into like a super bright purple. Like, I just have a different relationship with it. So I'm kind of curious, why was that color chosen versus pink or blue?
Yes. We also get so many comments and opinions about purple. So,
it is polarizing. It's a polarizing color.
Yes. So the two core colors of our brand are white and purple. So white represents the medical or medicinal part. Like if you think of hospitals,
yep.
Yes, blue scrubs, but white lab coat, like what I saw my father day in and day out wear every day when he was, when he practices dermatology, is this stark white lab coat.
Yeah, the
so
white coat.
The white coat is the white lab coat. Purple is the color of magic. It's the color of mysticism. It's also the color of royalty, which doesn't really play into our brand, but it is the color of magic. And so again, it's this tie back to the name and to this idea that in skincare, there's the medicinal part that is essential to making good formulations, good products, and then there's the more magical part about how that product will make you feel. So,
yeah,
hence the white and purple.
I love it. And I think so. I'm reading a bunch of books. I'm really into alchemy, and I'm into like historical fiction related to it. And I'm reading a series right now by Deborah Harkness called The Discovery of Witches, and the whole thing is based on well, not the whole thing, but it's vampires and witches. But on the witches side, which the women are central to the entire series. The central character is this amazing woman who is a witch. It's taken her a long time to become comfortable with this. But there's so much information in this book about botanicals and nature and, ingredients related to, the work of witches, which, I mean, that's a totally different conversation, and maybe we can have it some other time. But I just love learning about historical women that were involved in making medicines, and taking care of people, even though they were, mistreated often because they had a lot of knowledge. Women's intuition was, was mistreated by other people, misunderstood. But I really love your description of, of why you named the company, because it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And, shame on you people for criticizing this woman's packaging and the name of her company. Shame on you. You're just trying to make a bunch of money off this poor woman, and you're not going to do it because she and her sisters and family made the right decision. Okay, that's my pitch.
Thank you.
All right, so I love that you've done all this and you've taken care of the brand because, intellectual property is wealth. Wealth is intellectual property. Wealth is not always just money, but it's actually protecting your ideas and protecting your brand and making sure that it does stay forever. Did that play at all into the name of your company? Because I have a band and I set up the band like a business. I did what you did. I had super great lawyers and great accountants and all these things to make sure that all of our songs are maintained within our family, and we have all the trademarks, not the trademarks, but the copyrights.
Mm-hmm.
And our music is, we have documents, which, the music will be forever in our kids' lives, right? Whatever happens. Maybe someday one of our songs will hit it big, and next thing you know, they're like, rich forever. Wouldn't that be great?
Always.
I know, right? So it seems to me like you came from, you're basically a second generation owner of a brand and a family unit that's probably already translated into third generation. I imagine your sisters might have children. Does that play into how you're building this? Like what is, it's not easy to have a multi-generational business. Most of them don't work. They don't last because of problems with ego, relationship, whatever, money, whatever. How are you doing all that with your brand?
Well, of course, the hope is to build it to maintain it in the family, and to build it for the generations to come. Like you say, this is very complicated and difficult. And for us, for Alchimie Forever specifically, it's a little bit even more messy than typical because my father is founder. We call him founder because he's the one who started, who founded the first little jars of the white things. The brand itself, I created, and so I'm co-founder and I'm his daughter, but we work, we still work quite closely together. So first generation, second, it's a little messier than that. Two of my sisters have kids. They're in their teens, so they're way too young to be thinking about. Well,
Wait,
I say this.
Wait a minute.
I was 10. They are.
You
let's say they're not
at 9.
too young, but they are not thinking about this.
Okay.
They're not too young. I should say things properly, but neither of them are thinking about this right now, at least not to my knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm 48, so I don't plan on retiring next year. I want to work on this brand for as long as I can.
Forever.
Forever. And to your point, the word forever can also sometimes be polarizing to certain people, but that was my father's word first, and we utilized it in the brand name Alchimie Forever, and it does have a connotation of building for the long term. And this is again a conversation for a different time, but I think the typical idea of success in consumer goods is you build it, you get investment, big investment, you build it bigger, and then you sell it,
and then you get out.
You get out. This is not. Well, this is the, I think, most common and probably sexiest definition of success. It is not mine and it is not my family. So we're building this for the long term, and we want to own it. And we're fortunate enough that, we've owned this through financial crises, wars, global pandemics.
Everything.
And everything. Well, I don't know what is to come tomorrow, but we still own our brand and we're still here. And this to me is the definition of success.
Beautiful. So this is an amazing conversation. I have some quick things I want to ask you because this is so great.
I'll try to be quick in my answers.
I just feel like I have so many more questions for you that I don't even know. I feel like, man, I need another hour with this amazing woman, Ada. I need another hour.
Thank you.
So, okay. First, high level beauty tips. I'm so sick and tired of the cliche. Drink some water. Eat fresh foods and vegetables. Limit your carbohydrates. Get outdoors, use sunscreen. We already know that stuff. We know all of that, right? At least I hope we do. Get sleep. What beauty tip or secret do you have that is uncommon that maybe you've never even said it out loud in public, but what is something that you can tell me about a beauty tip that no one's ever heard?
Well, I don't know that I have something that no one's ever heard, but I will tell you two things. The first is to avoid sugars at all cost as much as you can. So you mentioned carbohydrates, so obviously that goes into sugars. But sugars, whether, lollipops, pasta, wine, dessert, what have you, accelerate aging. So avoid sugars as much as you can. And then the second thing is don't worry if you have, and I will remind everyone what you said at the beginning, this is not medical advice and check with your medical professional and all those things, but a slightly low iron status is really good for long-term health and long-term beauty. So if you are slightly anemic, don't worry too much about it. And especially go home and look at your multivitamins and make sure that there's no iron in them, unless you've been prescribed iron by your medical doctor. Wow. Because iron accelerates aging at the level of the skin and in all kinds of age-related diseases within the body. Wow, so maybe that you haven't heard. So
I have never heard that. In fact, that's like, don't eat red meat either. Like, I feel like that's what you're saying, which I used to be there. So, all right. So Ada, if there was anything you could do over, and it doesn't have to be business related, it could be anything, what would it be?
Nothing, I don't think.
No regrets?
No, I don't believe in regret. I believe in learning from things that weren't really fabulous. And, I'm very happy with where I am. And it's like the butterfly effect. I feel like if I were to change anything, then maybe I wouldn't be here with my brand.
I like it. And do you create alone? Are you best for your creative process alone, or are you better in a group of brainstorming with other people?
Oh, please don't ask me to brainstorm with you. I hate group brainstorms more than anything.
Do you hate the word, or do you hate?
No, I hate I'm a definite introvert. I'm an internal processor. I need to think in silence. I cannot think out loud. This my father and I disagree with because he loves brainstorms. And I'm like, Dad, I can't.
I love it. You make great partners. What is your go-to for fashion? Like, what do you wear? What is the thing that makes you feel good to align with your mantra? Like, what is the fashion thing for you?
Yeah. I hate shopping. I'm not I think that
any kind of shopping, like even grocery shopping, like any type of shopping.
Yeah, I hate grocery shopping actually the most. Clothes shopping, well, actually maybe clothes shopping the most, and grocery store shopping second most. I have a few brands that I like. I really like Rag & Bone. I've more recently discovered a brand called Brochu Walker. Hopefully I'm pronouncing their name right. They picked a name kind of like Alchimie, so I apologize. I love your brand name. It's super cool, even if I mispronounced it. But I buy nice pieces for the long term. I'm not a trend clothes buyer. I've worn some clothes. I mean, I usually wear my clothes until they disintegrate. And I have to throw them away because there's holes that can't be repaired. So,
well, at least you change your clothes, though. I mean, that's really.
Yes.
I think that's.
I also wash my clothes.
I love that. I mean, honestly, I really do. Okay, so you mentioned lipstick, but you have a new product that you just released, which, by the way, I ordered and I haven't gotten yet. I wanted to get it today to wear it, and I didn't get it. But I want to ask you: are you a lip gloss or a lipstick woman?
Well, I have to say I'm a peptide lip booster by Alchimie Forever woman. Obviously.
I cannot wait to get mine.
But other than that, I'm a lipstick woman. I love Chanel reds and I love NARS pencils.
I love you for that. You're just like, I don't really care about my clothes so much, but girl, you better give me my Chanel lipstick. Do not let me down. All right. Well, listen, this has been a tremendous conversation. I've loved every single minute of it, Ada. And you can learn more about Ada's company, Alchimie Forever, on a Google search. You can also learn about it on ChatGPT or Perplexity. Her products are everywhere. They're amazing. I love the packaging. And if I was to recommend one top product, I would recommend the Cantic Moisture Mask. It is my favorite product of all. You know what? I don't know. Because the eye tightening gel, like I can't live without that gel. I can't get on camera without it. I'm JinJa.
I'm Ada.
And we'll see you next time on the Honest Field Guide podcast. Bye. The Honest Field Guide is produced by the team at Burke Creative, where brand and multi-channel strategies are designed to help you get attention, grow, scale, and keep up with the pace of change. The music on the podcast is written and performed by Utah Carroll. You can find their songs everywhere online to buy or stream. The opinions expressed on the Honest Field Guide are solely those of the hosts and guests.